In this video, I'm going to show you how to identify your target market and make sure you're talking to the right people. So if you don't know me, hi there. My name is Maurice Davis, and I am your on-demand CMO. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of identifying your target market, what that is, and then I'm going to show you a free tool of how to do it. So if that interests you, then hang out with me to the end, and I'm going to show you how you can get that information that we're going to build together straight into your inbox so that you always have it. All right, so what is your target market? Target market is essentially the group of people or the person that you want to be talking to in your marketing. When we think about building out our marketing and making sure that it's effective, having our target market means that we will be able to expend our energy and efforts onto the right set of people. When we don't know who our target market is or we don't know who our target customer is, a lot of times we are doing stuff, but it's not getting us to where we want to be. And by focusing in on this piece first, we can make sure that we're going to the right place, we're talking to the right people, and we're doing the right thing. So I'm going to show you a free tool here in just a second that you can use in order to do this work. It's a phenomenal tool, and I'm really personally starting to dive into it a little bit more, and we're going to walk through it together. I'm going to show you how you can build that out. So give me 1 second here. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to walk through it together. So the tool is called Find My Audience, and you'll find this information as far as how to get to the tool into the notes. I'll drop that information here so we have it. And the real power of this tool is that it's a Google tool, right? And if you know anything about me, you know I'm kind of a fan on Google Analytics and Google Tools because they own so much search traffic that typically their tools are highly valuable for us as small business owners in order to get information. Think about it like this. Nowadays with Google, we have essentially the world's behaviors at our fingertips. So anytime we can use a Google tool, that means we're getting access to really quality data that can have some really high impact to the decisions that we make. So when we jump onto Find My Audience, there'll be a couple of things that you'll see here. You can break it down by, it's asking you for your audience type, and we'll talk about what these are, and then it asks you for your category. So it's a really simple tool to use. It doesn't require a lot of technical skill, which makes this an even better tool for my small business owners. I know there's a lot of stuff that we have to learn, so we don't want to learn a new tool. This one's really simple. So let's start off by looking at what Find My Audience is. So when we click the information, this first drop down, the audience type, we have two types. So we have in-market audience and we have affinity audience. Now I'm gonna tell you what these are, but the good news is that Google knows that we don't necessarily know what these things are, so it's given us definitions. So your in-market audience are just people actively looking for or researching the product or service, and typically they tend to be ready to make a purchase. And Google knows these things based on our behaviors, the things that we're clicking, what we're searching for. An example would be if I typed in what is a marketing strategy, right? Google knows that I'm starting to wonder about marketing strategy. Then if I do, how do I create a marketing strategy, right? That changes my buying intent. And then I search for marketing strategists in my area. That's a high intent, and that would potentially move me into the end market audience to say that I'm looking for content, right? Then you have affinity audience, so people that are interested or have hobbies related to whatever your area of business. So these are folks that may watch a lot of YouTube videos, may do a lot of blog research. They like the stuff, but they're not necessarily ready to buy anything. It's just something that they have a lot of interest in. So for me, as a marketer, you probably would see me affinity audience in things like business services. I do a lot of reading and a lot of watching of YouTube videos around business services, but I would be in market audience for advertising stuff. And we'll look at that together. So predominantly what we're going to want to look at as a small business owner is the in-market audience. Now I'm going to pick a random audience. Let's do apparel and accessories. The reason why we want to use in-market audience versus affinity is just because these tend to have higher buyer intent. So if we're thinking about where do I go, who do I talk to, this is going to give us a better idea. All right, so immediately we jump on here again. Why I love this tool is because when we get here, it's going to help us out as far as making sure that we're doing the right thing and we have the right information. So we're going to sign in. If you don't have a Google account, you need to get one, or a Gmail account, you need to get one. Because you're missing out on some really great tools. So once we've done that, they provide us a nice summary here of what this is. So 20 YouTube audiences where researchers are planning to purchase apparel and accessories. Now, the thing about this tool, Find My Audience, it is geared specifically towards YouTube, right? But we can apply some assumptions and say that if a person in the audience of YouTube is looking for these things, that the insights that we're learning on YouTube could be applied in several different areas. And we'll take a look at some of that stuff here in just a second. So apparel and accessories, the folks in here that are actively looking, these are some of the things or interests that they have: formal wear, handbags, hats, jewelry, lingerie, luggage, right? So if I were doing this for myself and I had a retail business, I would say, okay, what areas or products do I actually sell? All right, so let's say shirts and tops. You may have seen before I did a sign in. That was so that I could do this part here, which is add to profile. So people interested in purchasing t-shirts and tops, they often come to YouTube and learn about new fashion trends, latest collections from popular brands, right? And they watch reviews from their favorite influencers. So again, they're giving us some insight about the buying behaviors of these people. So I'm going to add this because I sell t-shirts and tops. And so this is of interest to me. Now, the really cool thing down here is that it says top YouTube channels, people shopping for shirts and tops are likely to be watching. So then it's going to give us some channels that we may be interested in. And this is how we can dive deeper into this. If I'm trying to create content for my own channel, I may go through and watch these channels to see what people in this group are actively watching and what they have interest in. And this gives me an idea of the type of content that I need to be creating for my people. But also, this also tells me that if I have shirts and t-shirts or shirts and tops, that I may want to be using these groups or these YouTube channels as places where I want to market to my people. These channels or similar channels to them, right? So if you've ever noticed when you've been on YouTube and you start watching content on these channels, you'll start getting other channels that pop up. They're like, hey, if you like this one, then you're probably going to like this one. So we want to start going to these, and we're going to want to follow these channels. And we're going to want to watch their videos so that we can start seeing what our people are seeing. This is how we start building that up. So as we scroll down, it says people that are shopping for t-shirts are also researching or planning to buy these products as well. So again, be mindful of what you actually sell and what you're actively looking to bring to the table. But in our case, we know that, hey, if somebody buys shirts, they're probably going to need some pants. Like, I think that's a fairly safe thing to say. If you're looking for shirts, you probably need pants. So I'm going to go ahead and add pants to my profile. Let's see what else. Men's apparel, sports tickets. Depending on what we're doing, we may or may not want to add this, right? And then down here, it says people shopping for t-shirts are also part of these audience groups. So Shopaholic, enjoy shopping and do so frequently, right? This might be important to us as a company that's looking to build out a profile. I want the people that shop a lot. So I'm going to add them to my profile. And then once we get done adding everything to our profile, I'll walk you through what we're actually doing here and why this is so important. So people who enjoy shopping and do so frequently, usually broad variety of things. So these folks, they not only buy t-shirts and shirts or shirts and tops or whatever the category is called, they also buy other things, and they do so quite a bit. So the really cool thing is that, so we got top YouTube channels here. If you notice, these are different. These are different channels than the ones that we had for just shirts. So again, we want to go to these because we know, hey, I have mine for tops and shirts, but these folks for Shopaholics, they're different. So we need to come here and do the exact same thing. We'd look at these and say, okay, what are Shopaholics looking at? This gives us some additional information. Now, Shopaholics are also researching or planning to purchase these products. So pet supplies, home supplies, accounting software, and trips by destination, right? So again, additional information. We won't get into how to use this information yet. We may do that in a future video, but just know that these are some additional insights about your customers or clients that can be helpful for you when you're trying to figure out, what do I need to talk about? So down here, we have some additional areas where they belong. So fashionistas. If I have a highly fashionable product or that I believe is highly fashionable, I may want to go and add that to my list. We also have bargain shoppers. We may or may not want to do that. These two seem a little conflicting to me. So depending on what type of product you have, you may want to pick accordingly, right? Value shoppers, people who consistently research products before making significant purchases and consider both price and quality when shopping. So these might be great people. These might be great people that we can use in order to make sure that we're building out a solid profile. So what you notice here, I had to read this notification. You've reached your maximum number of audiences. Request your profile now. So what we were doing was we were building out our overall profile. And so when we click this up here, get my audience profile, we'll see all 5 topics that I selected. Shirts and tops, pants, Shopaholic, fashionista, and value shoppers. So it's going to go to this email address here. That is my personal email. If you want to shoot me an email, feel free. And then all we're going to do is we're going to hit get profile. So while that's loading, we'll talk a little bit about what we just did. So all those information components are just little bits of information that YouTube is funneling us. So it's giving us tons of insights that we can use when we say, hey, I want to learn more about our customers, or I want to have a better idea of who my customer is. We know that these insights are relevant to people that buy the products that I have, so I can then go back and look at those individually. So that's done. Let's take a look at it together. So here's your audience profile. It's really nice. And what they do is they'll tell you how to kind of review this, right? So each one of those sections, for the most part, I would say is pretty self-explanatory, but they have done and said, hey, we give you a summary. So if you're ever curious about what any of these sections are, this section here, this middle section is the YouTube channels that you may want to explore. This section here, and we'll look at it again, we'll look at it together. Insights from audience planning to purchase. And then down here, these are just interests or hobbies. And then on the second page, these are niche specific subcategories that your audience may be interested in. So let's look at the t-shirt section. So here you go. This is the top section. This is your overview of the category, right? So this is your high level reminding you what this category was about, giving you your explanation. Under it, we have our YouTube channels. So these are those channels that we're going to want to spend some time looking at what they're creating, why they're creating it, and getting a better understanding of if people like shirts and tops, and that's what I do, then I may need to be looking at these to determine the type of content that I need to be creating. Underneath it, again, that section of people give the additional things that they may be looking for. Right here, we included pants in our category. We did not include hats, men's apparel, or sports tickets. Still valuable information for us. Again, I don't want to go that route yet, but we know that this was important. And then people are also shopping for this information, or they have these interests, right? So shopaholics, bargain hunters, yada, yada, yada. So the information on all these charts are the same. I'm going to scroll down to the last page. They actually did not give us, on this one, we did not have a subcategory. Okay, so sometimes we'll get this second page here, and you can't really see it. So I have to zoom in. Sometimes we'll get this second page. We did not get it on this one, and that's okay. That just means they don't have a really good subcategory for us, and that's perfectly fine. So as we're looking at this, this is the information about our customers, what we believe is going to be valuable. Now, they've even gone a step further and given us some content as far as what do we do with this information, right? So if you're curious, like, okay, Maurice, you told me that I can get this information. What do I do with it, right? So applying the insights to your audience strategy. So it shares here the cooking enthusiast example that cooking enthusiasts might watch YouTube content that goes beyond cooking. They might be looking to hire a landscaper. So that means when we're talking or when we're marketing on YouTube, we may want to look at home and garden services into our mix of marketing material. Now, again, that's the advertising piece, and I don't necessarily want to jump into the advertising piece, but just know that this has really huge advertising impact here as far as your ability to effectively market on YouTube. But here's the part that I think is really valuable. So it can inspire your creative. So in here, they share the cooking enthusiasts and in our information, let's see, they made the assumption here, or they used the example that we may find that our cooking enthusiasts also like reading the news, right? Or they identify as avid news readers. So on the left here, we have maybe a cooking show that we're creating, and it gets okay engagement. But on the right, understanding that they identify as avid news readers, we have our creator reading a newspaper, and that this gets 3 times the attention compared to the average video. And it's only because we know that they identify as avid news readers, right? So we're able to gain a lot of information. So up here, if we said that we're looking to attract people that do shirts and tops, right? They also consider themselves shopaholics and fashionistas, right? So we may, when we're creating content around shirts and tops, we also need to be looking at what about our content speaks to these areas, right? So it helps with, again, the advertising component, but also helps us to create a better, bigger picture of who our customer is. When we understand who our customer is, then we can make better choices about what we're creating for our customers. And we don't have to guess because the content's already there and people are already actively engaging with it. By using this tool, we're able to find out where they are and what they like, and then create our own versions of those things. Once you get really good at this, what you'll find is that your content engagement improves and people will be more likely to buy from you because now they trust you even more. So I hope that's helpful. You guys have a good one.